Greetings, this is Ty Brown, and welcome to Pepper Dynamics, the podcast for the Pepperdine Graziadio full-time MBA program. Our guest today is Dr. Stephen Swafford. Dr. Swafford is the Practitioner Faculty of Organizational Behavior here at Pepperdine Graziadio Business School. Greetings, Dr. Swafford. Thanks for joining us.
You betcha, Ty. I'm glad to be here.
So, a little bit about your background. You teach organizational theory, leadership principles, and organization development and change at Pepperdine. And you're also the co-founder and CEO of Leadership Outfitters, which is a leadership development and strategy development company, where, if I get this right, you'll correct me, where you give people tools to do their own work internally. And then, of course, is that it?
Yeah, you're spot on, Ty. That's exactly it. It's about giving people the tools to resonate beyond our contact with them. So we want people to be able to do their own work rather than us re-engaging them on a regular basis.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to be a kind of like a full-time consultant with the company for the next 30 years, right? You want to have them go off and do their thing.
Exactly. We want to put ourselves out of business. That would be the ideal, that we can give people enough skills that they can do it on their own.
Yes, sir. So you started that company almost 25 years ago, it looks like, and been at Pepperdine now for 5 years. And I want to have you on because I'm, just finished up my first semester, and I'm a full-time student with the Graziadio MBA program and took your class. But before class started, you do a kind of a cohort seminar for the full-time students that they do prior to starting the program. And of course, the cohort I went through, we became good friends going through that seminar. It's kind of like a 2 or 3 day, 4 day. We did it every night. We're the Zoom generation of college students. So
yeah.
I wonder if you can you give us some insight into that seminar, how you designed the program, and what did the expected outcomes from the program that you do?
Yeah, to me, it's like a puzzle going into each one, because every seminar and every cohort has a different energy, just like an organization, just like a company and a business, is that you bring a group of folks together and the dynamics can be totally different every time. And when you ask about the design, there's a group of us that go through extensive training even before we do. When I say a group of faculty members that go through training that specialize in this workshop. So it's not something there's a lot of intentionality about the training and the background that goes into it. And the intent is to bring a group of folks together that in a safe environment to explore some different concepts, thoughts, challenge our own beliefs and our own expectations and what we hope to get out of the program. So while every group is different, every faculty member is different, just like in the business world, every environment's different managers have different approaches. And it's to take us from point A to point B. And by the time we get to point B at the end of the time, is that we've developed a trust or started to develop a trust or operating principles for that group to operate in moving forward.
Yeah, it's interesting. Of course, we did it on Zoom over 4 nights.
Yep. Exactly.
But you've been here for 5 years. So tell me how it would normally take place as opposed to how we did it over 4 nights on Zoom.
Yeah, we've done a lot of reflection on that and looking at the pros and cons, and there may be a hybrid model moving forward where this might be one of the options with the 4-night immersion experience versus the Friday, Saturday, Sunday experience, or the multi-day at a destination. And there's pros and cons of both. We have a lot of flexibility on Zoom, but there's some also that informality that happens around a dinner table that doesn't always happen virtually. So we're trying to find different ways for those informal moments to happen. And that's why it's broken over 4 nights rather than just going 8 hours in one day. But there's pros and cons to both.
I wonder about the structure, because I don't know the weekend program. So was it like we all go to a hotel and we're just together for 48 to just 3 days straight, or what is the structure of how it would work before the pandemic, I guess?
Yeah, before we would usually go to a hotel. Sometimes it would be a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That would be a typical pattern. Some programs might be during the week, but usually would start in an evening or afternoon. We do that intro session, much like day one and part of day two in the online experience. And then day 2 is going from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. But the day 2, which just seems so long at 14 hours, some of that's self-managed time for the projects that happen in the subsequent day. So I don't want to reveal too much for future students that may listen to the podcast,
Yeah.
But it has a similar design,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a little bit more informality that you have or maybe around that property or destination that you can get together informally.
Right. Well, I will say this for any future students who are listening or people who are interested. It is very interesting and actually fun, in my opinion, and relation type of experience in terms of relationship building and getting to know Pepperdine, getting to know people that you will be going through at least at minimum your first semester with, because you'll have similar schedules for the first semester. So I think it was very beneficial for me, and the other people in my cohort have said the same.
I was going to say, Ty, yeah, because I'm kind of reflecting. We've done a lot of this with the faculty group that facilitate. Is the outcome that would happen at an on the site or face to face experience, and what we're seeing with the dynamic that Ty and you and your cohort had, the end results are very similar. And so while the two experiences are very different, the outcome that we hope to see that's happening with the behaviors and how the cohorts connect tend to be having the results that we had hoped for.
Right. And of course, there's an aspect of the person facilitating too. I mean, it's not just the program, right? You got to have the right people facilitating for the outcomes to come out how you want them to be. So that's a testimony to you, Dr. Swafford.
I appreciate that.
Thinking about leadership outfitters, right? You've been involved with that almost 25 years now. And like I mentioned, give people tools to do their own work internally. And that's as an individual, a leader, or as an organization. How has that type of experience, just that helping people with culture and leadership, how has that proven to be a benefit to the students who've taken your class? I mean, I know myself, but just from your experience, the person who is leading these classes beyond the cohort seminar.
Yeah, gosh, I can't believe you'd actually say, it's been almost 25 years. I don't think about it because it seems like we just started the company just yesterday. And I think part of it is, within the workshop and the content that comes on in, my perspective is that I expect to come in and learn as much from the other folks, from the students coming into the program at Pepperdine, because you all bring such rich experiences. And, I've got my own set of experiences and I've got my own set of biases that I like to have challenged. And that's what I find, that I can bring in those experiences from other organizations around the world that have had the opportunity of looking at strategy and how they behave and looking at leadership and how those are directly applicable. And we can have that dialogue within this program because so many folks have that frontline experience of what it's like to be in the workforce and to manage and to lead. And so we can have more of a collegial dialogue and not a hierarchical dialogue. And that's how I like to approach it.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because in terms of the workshop, in terms of relationship with, I think from the student perspective, one of the outcomes of the workshop is you want people to have relationships going into their classes, and you want people to feel comfortable leaning on each other in terms of group work and those type things. But then you think about academically, the classes that you teach, right, in terms of organizational behavior. Pepperdine emphasizes practitioners teaching classes. And there's an academic aspect to being a practitioner at a higher institution. So you still have to, have a curriculum and focus on the rigors of academia, but you bring that type of experience so students are learning from someone who has been out in the field and is now in the classroom. I appreciate that a lot. I wonder, when you came to Pepperdine 5 years ago, your approach then, has it changed to your approach now in terms of understanding the wealth of academia and putting it into a classroom and curriculum?
Gosh, that's a great question, Ty. Gotta reflect upon that, because coming on in, my family comes from multiple generations of educators. So I grew up in the field of education, and I've always been passionate around the education and passionate about learning. So my passions haven't changed, but my ability to know what resources are available through Pepperdine and how deep resources are available, that's the big difference for me now. Is I believe I still come in equipped with the same practitioner, and I definitely, with the research I've done, has been grounded in academia. So it is keeping a foot and kind of in both to say that, okay, that's a nice theory, but how does that really show up? What does that look like in the workforce? And so many folks within the program have been in the workforce and can connect that theory, or, oh yeah, I've been doing that my entire life. That's what it's called.
Right.
To see those light bulbs come off and say, oh, okay, yeah, I have been doing that theory and that practice and that model my entire life. I just didn't know that I was doing that.
Exactly.
Those are the fun connections I see.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Of course, I come into the full-time program. I think I'm the oldest person in the program, right? I come in with almost just short of 20 years of work experience. And I appreciate practitioners who can relate to, the nuances of theory and the nuances of life don't always line up. So someone who can teach within those nuances in a class, I think, is an excellent experience for students to have.
And you brought so many different practical experiences on in. And not only do you push, I know you pushed me in a good way to challenge how I believe in certain processes, but also that spirit within the entire cohort of pushing back on models and what does even academia say. And I'm all for pushing back and challenging something. It's how we think about it. It's the process, why we disagree. And, to put up a framework of an argument or to a different perspective, as long as we understand that there's some basis behind why we're pushing back, I think that's most important, to have critical thinking.
It is. Critical thinking is how you get to different parts of the world and of your mind that you didn't know existed.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'll ask a couple questions here before we wrap.
Okay.
You've seen a number of cohorts, a number of students during your 5 years here at Pepperdine Graziadio. I wonder what some of the common traits are among the students who are successful while in the program, and I guess after the program. Are there some commonalities you've seen in different students?
Wow, yeah. And I'm thinking about students that have gone on to create their own companies, that have gone on to get, a higher level degree, but are still working full time. And what the relationship is with each other. And it really comes down to that, is the relationship. That if somebody's coming into Pepperdine to get, boxes checked, to just get the degree, those are the ones that I find that are transactional and fall away pretty quickly. Because Pepperdine is a very relational, it's a very practitioner type school. And that's what always drew me to the institution. And so I've seen the cohorts for the people that are more relational, that want to have themselves challenged, that want to reflect on why they believe the way they do, why they manage the way that they do, to take an action and step back and say, why did it happen that way? To do a diagnostic approach of, is there a better way that I could approach that? Or what other tools are being brought in that I didn't think about? That if we'll be willing to be vulnerable, that's the other part, is the vulnerability, the relationship. Those are the students that I've found to be most successful. The ones that have not been as successful have been more transactional, and I'll just get this assignment in and I'll check my box. Those folks may still get on through, but won't be with the same level of energy that the folks that invest really in the relationship with those around them.
That's interesting to me. The relational term, you say that a lot, and I know from being in your class and in the seminar that that's important to you, and I wonder about the struggle, I guess, of being a professor where you lead with that type of emotional intelligence, with that type of relational mindset, transformational mindset, and everything is over Zoom now, and you can't interact like you really like to interact. Tell me about how that's been, I guess, a challenge, and maybe there are some benefits to it for you as a professor here at Pepperdine.
Dang, Ty, you gave me goosebumps, man. You asked really good questions, dude.
I appreciate that.
You do. That's really reflective questions that caused me to kind of pause. And I have to kind of think about that. I did a keynote for a bunch of colleges just earlier this week. And one of the comments that kept coming on back was, I don't know how your energy is coming across so strong on the screen. But I believe, even though we've got like this 3 or 4 inch box that we're all showing up, I think there's a real a real equity that does show up in Zoom, that we're all kind of in the same space. But I do believe that our energy can be, when when I say energy, our enthusiasm, our connectivity with one another can happen electronically. It is tougher. I'm not trying to be Pollyanna about it. It is tougher, but I think it is possible when we start asking each other questions that are vulnerable, and we can see how we show up. But yeah, it is tougher because I feed upon the energy of the group, and you can sense the energy of a group, and that's a little bit tougher to do in Zoom. But it is possible. It definitely is possible, and I have seen it happen.
Right. You mentioned earlier when we were talking about the seminar that the flexibility, I guess, is a benefit, right, in terms of accessibility and time, in terms of connecting with people is probably one of the benefits of Zoom, especially if you're talking about connecting with people who may not be in the same location, and you guys can all schedule a time and get together. I think that's probably been a benefit for some of us.
And Ty, looking at as a practitioner and the client systems we've been working with, and looking forward, and how this impacts us at Pepperdine and in our learning community. My client systems are all saying, yeah, we want to go back to face-to-face. We're excited to get back face-to-face. But you know what? We're going to continue to use Zoom as one of our strategies. And we would never have considered this in the past. So we've been forced into it. And we see how we can use it as a strategy in the future.
Yeah, it's excellent. It's crazy. And at the same time, I guess it's exciting to know what can come as, once we get past this whole disease that's plaguing the world right now. Once we get, I guess you can say that on a number of different levels, but once we get past that, it's exciting to see where this thing goes. Well, Dr. Swafford, this has been an excellent conversation. I really appreciate you joining us here.
Ty, I've had so much respect, and I know your career path prior to coming to Pepperdine, and you're such a gift in what you do contribute. So I was certainly honored to be able to have you as part of the cohort to be able to work with you all. And so it's a real pleasure to be with you here today.
That was Dr. Stephen Swafford. He's a practitioner faculty of organizational behavior here at Pepperdine Graziadio Business School. And he's also the co-founder and CEO of Leadership Outfitters, which is a leadership development and strategy development company. And of course, this is Ty Brown, full-time MBA student here at Pepperdine with the Pepperdynamics podcast. And keep in mind, the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today.